Hey, everybody, welcome back to Carside Chat. Today, we're going to be talking about the new greatest thing out there, cryo detailing with entICED Garage. We'll be right with you. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Carside Chat. I am your host, Primo. I hope everybody is tuning in right now. Just remember that we are on many platforms. We're on, right now, I think we're on 5 platforms. I know we're at least on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, all these different areas. Even got a Twitch stream going on right now. So if you guys are out there, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget the bell icon. I love getting this stuff out of the way already, and we already got a comment out there. Awesome, good to have you with us. Silver City Soapworks. So yeah, what is today about? Today is about a really cool product called cryo detailing. Now, cryo detailing is not something new. It is something that's been out for a little bit of time, but they've really started to master it now. So we're seeing this new thing pop out, and a lot of people out there kind of trying to figure out exactly what the deal is with it. So today we're going to have a guest on that's going to be able to go over the whole thing with us, go over, get you acclimated to everything. And then hopefully down the road, we'll be down to his place to kind of get things featured. Just remember, if you want to get any of this information, it's all executiveautomotivesociety.com. That is our main website. And remember that you can head over there too. We got our new shirts up. We got all the new stuff out. We're going to be bringing some of our traditional old school stuff back as well. We have some of the featured soap products that we had, which is really fun stuff. But yeah, so I want to get into some news today, which is big important. Before you do that, make sure that you like and subscribe. I always love putting this thing out there. We worked really hard on this button, so I figured somebody's going to put it out there that we should probably to sell it and, get some people out there. You gotta hit that button. So anyway, this is big news right now. After all this time, I know we've had it on the channel before. We were talking about it, was the big Ferrari recall that was coming down the pipe, and it is finally here. Ferrari recalling 19 models, goes back to 2005 with the Scagliotti. The NHTSA filing has stated the brake fluid reservoirs, the cap, which may not vent properly, creates a vacuum inside the reservoir that creates a leak. So that means it's basically pulling brake fluid out of the vehicle and making it so the vehicle doesn't work. Now, the first thing I was asked was, are they going to be able to keep up with this recall? The 19 different models for Ferrari is kind of a big deal. In reality, that's only 23,555 Ferraris that are going to need to do this. But that, just because you don't see a problem does not mean you don't need to pay attention to the list. So if you are on the list, make sure that you do what you need to do to get ahead of it. Don't wait for any kind of warning light. What's going to happen is that you're going to end up driving along, and all of a sudden you get a low brake fluid warning, and that means you have immediate issues that have to be resolved. So don't wait around for that. Get ahead of it. Make sure that you get it towed. Don't actually try to drive it. And all the people out there that supposedly, and I don't know if this is 100% because it's trade-ins and that kind of stuff that's happening, but they're supposed to be sending an email prior to September 24th of this year to all the people that own the vehicles. We're going to have a list over on executiveautomotivesociety.com on the main website area. So remember, head over to that. We're also going to put something up on our Facebook probably right after the show, so that you can go over there and check to see if your vehicle is on the list. It's not a bad list. So, but yeah, like I said, I was wondering why it actually would take this long to get to this product, but I want to go to some good news in the news, if you will. The new Lambo Urus just took the SUV record on Pike's Peak at 10:32.064. That is 18 seconds faster from the last Bentley Batanga. Now, the thing that I don't know if they ever told anything on this, but this is actually a new model that they're going to be launching, and it's going to be unveiled August 19th. And this new Urus required Lambo to work with Pirelli for a new P0 Trophy R tire. It's going to be the first ever semi slick that's going to go on an SUV vehicle. So I am really excited to see what this vehicle goes down the road. I mean, yeah, August 19th. Thing already makes like 800 horsepower. So you can imagine where it's going to go from here. But it is time for a guest to be on the show. How are you doing today? This is Shaun DaCunha from entICED Garage. Did I say that right, Shaun?
Yeah, close enough. Nice. Happy to be here, Primo. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you on here. So that's the thing is I don't even know where to start with this. This is new technology, but it's actually old technology, right? This has been around for quite some time, right? What's really causing it to kind of take off right now?
Yeah, so you're right. Dry ice cleaning has been around for decades, mainly in the commercial and industrial space, cleaning electrical cabinets and whatnot. And as we briefly talked about earlier off screen, dry ice cleaning was a thing maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, but at the time, people were trying to use industrial machines on vehicles, and that just wasn't working out. Okay. It's only in the last couple of years where companies have actually made dedicated machines for automotive use, so able to fine-tune various settings, the pressure of the air coming through the machine, the volume of ice, the actual particle size of the dry ice. And so, yeah, the last couple of years, they've made some really, really big leaps in that area. And now that, like you said, why is it becoming popular? Well, Bring a Trailer, I think, really was one of the biggest reasons as to why. It's because, the cars are getting dialed in. The paint looks immaculate. Everything looks great. The leather, the upholstery. Well, what's the next thing that we can do to a car to increase their value that much more? Well, let's make the bottom of the car look just as nice as the top of the car. And so, as I mentioned, Scott Ailes, the Dryce man, DryceNation.com, he's a big seller on Bring a Trailer, and he wanted to maximize, his profits from these cars. And if you have two of the exact same cars, everything, mileage, model, color, everything, the specs, but one has been dry ice cleaned and one has not, which car do you want to buy?
Right.
You want to buy the car that's been dry ice cleaned. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
So one of the things now, I know we keep saying detailing and we say cleaning and stuff like that, but in reality, there's a lot of different things that you can do with this product, right? Like what's all the different stuff that in other words, if somebody comes to your shop and they say, what can you do to my car? What can you do with this dry ice technology?
Sure. So it might actually be easier to tell you what I can't do. So there are a couple of different materials that we have to shy away from. The foam insulation underneath a lot of hoods today. Okay. The dry ice has it can actually rip through that foam material. And there are certain materials on the bottom of cars that you have to be careful of. But I mean, for the most part, I can spray paint. I can spray the ice directly on rubber, plastic, wiring, metal, glass.
Yeah, here's
everything.
There's a good one for you because this is a good example. Now, this right here is electronics that you've been able to create on an E36 M3 here that you were able to clean. Now, all this technology stayed inside the vehicle while you were still cleaning it up, right?
Well, no. So these are Euro taillights. So these were tough to find for the client. He ended up finding them, but they were really cruddy, as you could see from the top picture. The gasket was just full of a lot of junk. And he brought the taillights to me off of the car. And he said, can you clean these up for me? And I said, absolutely. So I literally probably spent 15 minutes on the two taillights together, and they looked basically brand new when I was done. The dry ice is actually able to revive the rubber gaskets and make them look brand new again. And you're talking about, nearly 30-year-old set of taillights.
That is crazy. Like, actually,
it really is. Yeah.
Wow. Man, now that's you were talking. I thought at first I was like, nah, he's kind of joking about saying like, what can't I do? But like the little things like that, I think are pretty important, especially like because this doesn't just do cleaning and restoration. This is like taking something, you're saving thousands of dollars for people just by 100%. Redoing something that is like, hey, this is, that's just crazy. Like, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. There are a lot of benefits with dry ice. And one of the things is you don't have to disassemble anything from the car. So you can bring a car to me and I can get it up on my lift and I can work my way around underneath it. And our rule of thumb is if I can see the dirt or if I can see the area I want to clean, I can get to it. I may not be able to get my hands in there, but with the gun and the spray pattern, I can get to it. But I mean, if you go to someone to redo your car, like we were talking about earlier, if you want to have it done nuts and bolt restoration, they're taking everything apart. With that, there's always risk. What we like to do in dry ice, we like to minimize risk. So we don't typically disassemble anything from the car. Maybe like a floor pan or a belly pan. We might take that off to access more parts of the car. But we don't want to be. We're not dropping exhaust. We're not dropping transmissions. We're cleaning everything as it currently sits, and it's so much easier for the client, less risk, and it helps us out.
And unlike, say bead blasting or something like that, which is very similar to this, you don't have any of the residues or anything. Is there anything left over from the ice?
No, that's a great point. There's absolutely nothing left over. As soon as the dry ice makes contact with the substrate or the surface being cleaned, it turns into gas. It turns back into CO2. The only thing that's left behind is the dirt or the rust that we're cleaning. It just falls to the floor.
Well, I mean, I think that's something that people don't realize. I mean, this stuff is like what, negative 78 or 80 degrees it's stored at or something like that?
That's Celsius. So it's negative 109 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. And so to your point is if you go bring something to get sandblasted, that's all great and dandy. Sandblasting is very abrasive, but even when you're done, you got to clean all that sand out. Like if you're cleaning an engine, you can't put that back in the car and start it the way it is. With dry ice, there's nothing left behind to clean.
Well, being a huge, I love bead blasting. I love doing any of that metal stuff or working metal. But that's the thing is I understand there's pitting, there's things that break free, they get loose. And that's the thing is when I'm using that stuff, it's never I'm just spraying and praying and that's it. I have a huge process that I'm going to have to go through after I'm done to make sure that piece of metal is going to be usable later on. For your stuff, I mean, look at this plastic, and for the piece here, you know what? I'm going to show this one right here, like this right here. That's, you never even took that out of the car, did you?
No, that's just, I cleaned an engine bay. That was from a 1974, I think, Alfa Romeo Spider, and he came in for an engine bay detailing, and I mean, the before and after, it's just dramatic, and you can tell the factory sticker. I mean, it looks still there. It wasn't removed. I was able to clean right over the sticker and not remove or destroy the sticker at all.
That's just nuts. Like that. It's like you would think like it's a magic trick. It's got to be right. There's no way that you can dry ice a component in the car and go, yeah, sticker's gonna be fine. Like,
yeah,
really?
I mean, is it possible to damage the sticker? Sure. Like anything, there's always risk with the wrong operator, the wrong equipment, but with time and knowledge and training and proper use of the equipment, you're careful with that kind of stuff. You want to preserve everything about the car because that's important to a lot of the clients is the preservation. You want to keep the story of the car intact.
Exactly. Well, the other thing too that I find, like newer cars, not so much because they do more with the stickers and that kind of stuff. But a lot of the older cars that use the metal plates, like I know with the Porsches that I had, it was all plating. It was stuff that's kind of a big deal for us. You know what I mean? Like there's something that's, if I had to do something like that, that's not a piece it's riveted in. Like to take that out is going to be a nightmare. And all I really want to do is just clean it up versus, versus a lot of these cars have really good bodies that stay together. There's only certain sections that we need to fix. And if it's one less thing that I have to take apart to have my car redone, you know what I mean? It's incredible. So, how long have you been actually running this business? How long has this thing started? How long have you had?
Sure. So I started back in March. So what are we on? Month 5 now or month 6? And yeah, I've had a bunch of different cars, some European, some American, a little bit of everything. And it's funny to see the different types because the American cars don't clean up as nicely as the European cars, especially the Porsches and the BMWs, just because the quality of the metal used, the coatings, the cosmoline that the European cars came with. Cosmoline is my best friend. If I see cosmoline, I know the car is going to clean up really, really nicely. Right.
Now that's the thing that all these guys, we've had a ton of people on here that have had businesses that are just kind of, I would say a year or less old.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that they always ask, that I have to ask to them, is because this is an investment, and with investments come with risk. And I'm sure you had to change. I mean, you went from probably doing something pretty stable to now doing something that's really not as stable. And you're like, what do I do? What was it like for you jumping into this pool and saying, what drove you to say, you know what, I'm giving up all this other stuff and I'm going to do this. This is going to be great. What took you to this point?
No, it's a great question. I've been in the same job for almost 16 years, sitting behind a computer every day. And like you said, it was stable. I was comfortable, but I wasn't happy.
Right.
And for years, I've been looking for a way out, and I've always wanted to be involved in the automotive space somehow. I didn't know what. I didn't know. I'm not a mechanic. I can do things on my car, but I can't rebuild an engine or a transmission.
Right.
I don't want to detail cars. I don't want to, like the old school detailing. I mean, my elbows can't handle that.
Right.
And so about last April, I saw my favorite YouTuber having his car dry ice cleaned. And I had never heard of this before. And the second I saw it on my TV down here, my mind was blown. And I told my wife, I said, Katie, I'm like, I may have found something that this could be it. And so I spent from last April till beginning of this year just researching and learning how to start a business and apply for financing, because I couldn't afford the equipment. I had to talk to different banks and starting an LLC, and just there's so much that goes into a business outside of the actual just business, just the paperwork and the minutia that you have to you don't realize it until you get into it, and figuring out how I'm going to take payments and opening a checking account for the business and just all the little things. And
then get the training to do it.
Yeah, right. And I luckily I found, again, shout out to DryceNation.com. Luckily I found Scott Ailes, who was the one I saw on YouTube that day doing the cleaning. He offers a Patreon where you can sign up, pay a monthly fee, but with that you can learn all about the dry ice cleaning, the techniques, the equipment, the business. There's just so much that goes into it. So you're
now full. I mean, like, how long total did it take you? Like a couple months or whatever, and you're full-fledged, like fully trained, ready to go, right?
Yeah, I mean, it all happened really quickly. I trained with Scott back in September. Spent the next couple of months working on my business plan. I really wanted to make sure that the business plan had every single thing I needed. I probably made it a little more robust than I needed it to be, but I didn't want to. I'd rather have too much than not enough. Exactly.
Right.
And got financing late last year. Got all my equipment ordered, which with the supply chain issues, I wanted to order all early to make sure that it all came in time. Right. Had to line up a place to rent. So it was a lot of logistical pieces moving around, and it was tough to wrangle, but it all worked out.
Hey, that's the other thing. I started every time I start something, it's always when some pandemic is hitting, or suddenly it's no longer relevant, or like some crazy thing, and it's like, okay, now I got to backpedal. You were actually kind of at the forefront of things. You never planned that. You were just like, you know what, I think this is a great idea. Let's do it. How's it feel right now to kind of be at the cutting edge of something, realizing that the demand right now is really coming up for this product?
I think you just nailed it. I think we're not even, this is still so not known by so many people in the car industry, in the car world, that I think once people really realize what this can do and what the capabilities of it are, and how it's now a lot of people who are in New England who realize, hey, there's someone close to me who can do this. Right. I think it's gonna blow up. Like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, paintless dent removal wasn't really well known. Like, yeah, there were people who did it, but now it's pretty commonplace. You can find guys who do it all the time, and it's a skill. And this is just another skill, another tool in the arsenal of a detailer. So,
right. And I think that's funny because you're bringing up the dent repair. That's something where people didn't realize. Like, I'm bringing it to this place, and there's a repair shop that's going to charge me $1,000 to do something. When I go to the dent repair guy, he spends $300 and gets exactly what I want. Now they have something where you say, look, I need something that's not as abrasive as this. Bingo. I need something that's going to be directed at what I want to do. And now you have a product that it is so fascinating to me to just understand how passively this product can be
Yeah.
to an environment. Like
Yeah.
take I saw the one with the there was an engine bay, and it went through the engine bay and it took stuff out, and you know what I mean? That was it. It was clean. The guy didn't take the engine out. He didn't do anything. It was, hoses were still inside the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
So normally, so let's say somebody wanted to have something done for you.
Yeah.
What's usually the turnaround for something like that? So if I bring your car today, usually how long does it take before you get the car back?
So it depends on what they're looking to have done. If you're looking for a full undercarriage cleaning, it's a minimum of 2 days. Ideally, you want to drop it off to me either the morning of the first day or even the night before, so that I have it on me. And then you're looking at least 2 to 3 days. Every car is going to be different, like we talked about earlier. You could have two of the exact same car. One may have had a couple of leaks. One probably didn't. Right. So it's really going to vary, but you're looking at least 2 full days for an undercarriage cleaning. But a lot of my clients, they want their undercarriage, wheel wells, and their engine bay all done. Yeah, and so that adds on more and more time. But a lot of these guys, they're so excited for the finished product that they're fine with leaving me the car. So if it's there for a week and a half, they don't care. They just want to get it back and see the transformation.
Right. So with stuff like that, I mean, that's usually, especially with products when they catch on, there's always something that I always laughed about the dent guy. And I was like, they put rocks at a certain station, and that was the thing that got all those people that parked there. They're now in my shop getting work done. Right. What is the number one thing that you see come through your shop that people ask for? Is it just the undercarriage, or is there, I mean, cause you can do interiors too, right?
Yeah, so I haven't had any clients request any interior work, but I do have a 1965 Beetle up on my lift right now that was just shipped up from Georgia. It was restored 15 years ago or so out of the country. I forget where it was done, but he actually asked if we could do some work on the interior carpets because there's some staining here and there, and 100% that'll take care of it. Because again, we can really tweak the settings, the amount of ice used, the size of the ice, and the pressure of the air. So we can turn that down and actually clean the carpets. We can clean Alcantara steering wheels and make them look brand new again. Yeah. And
Alcantara is my thing, man.
Yeah, and we can clean that. And back to your point about the abrasiveness, it's so dry ice is non-abrasive to the point where I can clean your undercarriage. All that dust is going to be flying up in the air. It's probably going to settle on top of the car. But when your car is done, I can put it down on the ground and use the dry ice and actually clean off all the dust from your car and make it look clean again. So basically, that's the last step in the dry ice detailing process for me.
So the majority of people that are coming in, they're asking for, say, the undercarriage stuff, or is it?
Yeah, the majority I've wanted the works. I've had a few people who have done just the engine bay, and that's easy. I mean, engine bay, you can come in, drop it off in the morning. It's done by the afternoon. I'll usually find some time to squeeze. It's a couple hours of work at most. Again, depends on the car. Excuse me, depends on the car, depends on the condition of it, but a couple hours.
All right. So yeah, there's Shaun. This is my buddy from Shaun Supercars. Cool video. What's up, Shaun? It's good to see you, buddy. Hey. Thanks for putting a comment out there for us, bud. Yeah, he had some amazing stuff. He's a new guy that has really come up and been filming stuff. Like he just did the big thing for Tutto Italianos, had all the coverage, and
cool.
they had the Pagani up there. So it was really excited to see him come up and bring his stuff on. So I'm glad he could pop in tonight. So comparative wise for cost, how much more is usually the dry ice stuff from comparative to what you're going to have other things that's going to be done?
You talking like versus like restoration and things like that, or
in other words,
So with the restoration, you're going to pay big bucks. I mean, you're talking about nuts and bolt restoration, frame off. There's a lot of disassembly, a lot of risk that goes into it. The dry ice process, it certainly isn't, and I hate to say it's not cheap process, but you're paying for an amazing experience. You're paying for us using the top of the line equipment. You're paying for the actual dry ice, which isn't cheap, oddly enough, especially in the Boston region, the Boston market. So it's not cheap, but at the end of the day, you're going to pay a lot more getting a full restoration done, where you can bring me your car, I get it up on the lift, I'm not taking anything off, I'm not damaging components of the car, minimizing risk. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just basically cleaning it front to back, side to side, every nook and cranny that I can see, and making it look as good as I possibly can. In many cases, making it look damn near new again underneath.
Yeah. So that's I think one of the big things about this that you're going to put it leaps and bounds above everybody else is the ability to do stuff while it's still in the vehicle.
Exactly.
So if the vehicle is running well and it's doing what it needs to do, and you don't have to tear the thing apart to get to things, you're going to be able to go in there and you can do it to paint too, right?
100%. Yeah, I can. Like I said before, when the car's done and cleaned, I can actually use the dry ice and spray off the whatever is sitting on the paint. Get that off. Dry ice is great for, when you wax the car. There's always the residue that gets in all the little crevices and the cracks around your taillights and the emblems. Dry ice blows that right off, and it's like it was never there.
Is this stuff like magic juice or something? Is it like fairy dust or something, or is it really? It's not dry ice, is it? It's like fairy dust. It's some kind of magic. Where did this come from? Like,
considering what it costs, maybe I might be made of some bits of unicorn or something, man. I don't know. It's nuts.
Now, when you got into this, did you really think like this can't be real? Like it's too good?
I thought that again, and when I saw the first video, my jaw dropped. I'm like, what is this? Is this real? And just how effortless it seemed on video. It's just when you're spraying a control arm and it was black and crusty, and all of a sudden it's shiny and aluminum again. It's just, it's remarkable, truly remarkable.
And all it does for you, like you have a certain kind of equipment thing that you buy that just is. So how does it say? It's like a compressor, then it's basically like a storage facility for the ice itself, and then you have your thing to set it up to blow into the car itself. But other than that, you just really a shop and a lift, right? Other than that big equipment, right?
For the most part, a bunch of ancillary tools and whatnot. But yeah, for the most part, your compressor, you've got your desiccant dryer, you've got 2 tanks to store the air, because for dry ice cleaning, you need the driest air possible. Any moisture that gets into the air can really kind of hamper things when you're cleaning. So we take every measure that we can to ensure that the air is as dry as possible.
Which cars love, by the way. Cars love dry air. Like we live for dry.
100%, and that goes back to the whole minimizing risk. Is what you have an old classic car. Like the last thing you want to do is be shooting a pressure washer into the engine bay to clean it up. No, with dry ice, there's no moisture being introduced. There's no H2O in CO2. There's literally no moisture.
That's amazing. So you sent me over a picture here, so I wanted you to go over this. This is the first one. This is the before. Can you kind of go over a little bit of this and what it is and what the plan is with this?
Yeah, absolutely. So this car was in last month. One of my clients out in the Cape, he brought in his Porsche 944 for a full undercarriage clean. Actually, I'm sorry. He brought it in for wheel wells. And so this is the before picture. And then once we showed the after picture, he was so thrilled with the results. He brought the car back a few weeks later for the full undercarriage and engine bay cleaning.
That's crazy. So all that. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No worries. You could see the red paint, like nothing was damaged. All the original paint is still there. We just removed everything that was on top of the paint. You can even see the blue paint markings on the spring.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Original from the factory. And like we can all that stuff. Like there's paint marks all over this car. And
I got to show the before and after you. So this is before, and this is all the dirt and grime and stuff that he's built up over time. Yep. And this is the after part. Every little piece of it, it looks like you'd never think that car ever went anywhere. Like
it's so true. And like, I mean, I have other befores and afters that are even more dramatic, but it's just, it's crazy. And you can't do that with, I mean, you could sit there with a scrub brush or a pressure washer and some kind of degreaser, and you might be able to get a end result, something along those lines. You're going to take 7 to 8 times as long as I did, and you're going to be using chemicals, and you don't want to be using chemicals on original paint and finishes.
Well, that's the thing that it keeps bringing me to mind, because I'm thinking about, I think that's the problem with the product, is that you can't box everything up in what we're discussing in a 40-minute or hour-long show. Like there's just so much stuff that this can do. And I mean, right now, this is the only thing that you offer is the dry ice part of it, correct?
That's correct. And long term, if I can get into a bigger shop and the business becomes self-sufficient, I would love to bring on a traditional detailer, a top side detailer, so that we
Right.
can do top to bottom everything, the entire spectrum. So basically a one-stop shop: dry ice, paint corrections, ceramic coatings, all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the goal, long-term
I
goal.
just I just keep going back to this picture. Like I'm like the sticker looks the same. Like you can tell that it's been cleaned and everything looks exactly like it was from the factory. Like I can't. We have to set up a time for me to come over. I don't know how I'm going to film it because I mean it's like you have to wear the suit and everything, right? To do the. Is it really
Yeah,
cold in the
yeah.
shop when you're doing it, or is it?
No, the shop gets hot because the
Okay.
compressor puts off so much heat. But when I'm cleaning cars and if some of the ice kind of bounces off the material and
Yeah.
it sublimates into back into CO2, but a lot of that will blow back and it's a nice,
Mhm.
cool, refreshing wave. Very
Ah.
temporary, but that feels nice. But no, I'd love to have you sometime, Primo, for sure,
Yeah,
man.
we got to come over and check
Yeah,
this out because
yeah,
I like I said, to me every time the more and the stuff that I mean, first I was like, okay, it does this, it's got to be some sort of like you talk to people, especially when it comes to like for ceramic, for instance, we had
yeah,
this
yeah.
big discussion about ceramic on one of our shows, and the guy says, well, look, it's ceramic. So it's going to make sure that the stuff doesn't cling to the car, but you got to remember it doesn't stop dents. It doesn't so there's only certain things it does. Okay, where's its kind of end point?
Yeah.
And the thing is I keep kind of trying to find where this has an end to it. And other than just saying there's a couple of things you can't do with it, it seems to cover all. Like, okay, I can't do the foam. Like
Hmm.
that's it. Like, yeah, that's pretty much it. Like it doesn't seem real. Like how do you prove to somebody that you know what I mean? Like that, I think that would be my biggest thing. Now,
Yeah.
so when you were starting this business, that's the other thing is this takes a lot of learning from marketing and other things like that. You kind of came into this. What was the big thing for you that said, like what did you have to change? What are the things you had to do to kind of make that get that wording out there so that somebody could jump onto this miracle stuff?
Sure. So I graduated college in 2005 with a degree in operations management. So I mean, I took a lot of business classes, marketing classes, but I
Yeah.
haven't used a lot of those skills for the last 15 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was relearning a lot of those skills and just watching a lot of webinars online. A lot of the local, small business associations have been very, very helpful. Lots of good videos and content out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, marketing, it's tough because it's 2022 and obviously social media and technology, that's the future, that's the present.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the clientele that I'm trying to target, they don't use social media. They're not on Facebook, they're not on Instagram. They're old school guys. They like magazines in their hands. They like pamphlets and brochures.
Yep.
So it's a mix. It's trying to appeal to the new audience who
Mm-hmm.
maybe are coming into the car scene, and car collectors, into money, but also trying to get to car shows and cars and coffees
Right.
and just various car events where you can actually like put in some FaceTime and
Mm-hmm.
introduce yourself to people. And I have postcards that I made for a Cars and Coffee that I hosted recently where I
Mm-hmm.
actually have pictures of the 944 that we looked at. It's basically the rear end of the car where the dramatic before and after photo. I put that on a postcard with my business name, a QR code to get to my website, my contact information, and handing that out to people. It pays dividends. It gets the conversation going. And
Mm-hmm.
another thing I've found that's been helpful is I'll go to a lot of the Audrain events down in Newport, a lot of their cars and coffees, and I'll bring a stack of business cards and a stack of my postcards. And it may not be the right thing to do, but I'll actually target certain cars while I walk around, cars that I
Yeah.
would like to clean,
You
and
have
I'll
to. Yeah.
that right. And if the owners aren't there, unfortunately,
Right.
I'll leave either a postcard on the windshield or I'll place it on their driver's seat.
Yep.
And that's actually led to a few people calling me back saying, "Hey, you left a business card in my car at our drain, blah blah blah." And what do you do exactly? So again, a lot of people they'll see that I offer dry ice detailing, but they don't know what that means. It's
Right.
still
That's
such a
the
new concept, and we're trying
yeah.
to educate the consumer base, the car guys, that listen, it's coming one way or
Right.
the other.
Oh
Like
yeah.
this is going to be the next wave. This is going to be the
It's
next
it's
big
it's
thing.
already here, man. I mean, and the thing
Yeah,
is
yeah,
from what
yeah,
I mean, they especially when you have something that just it does what it actually promises. I think that's that's the thing that I think is so problematic in the car world is we've been so many times sold on stuff that just doesn't work or doesn't like. I was the first thing I was thinking is because you were saying odd drain. I wasn't thinking about odd drain because I think that is a great idea that you brought it up. But like Boston Cup, like you go to that place and everybody there, great guys, all of them, but they understand that all of their cars need that soft touch. That just no product, everybody's taught. I mean, everything in our industry is rough and tough and tumble. And, you know, we break or rip it apart or tear it or do whatever. And I mean, I'm sure with that 944, that's one of the, like, I have a 944. And one of our biggest thing is those, the rubber seals, all those little parts, and they get good, nice, solid body, but all the things that are associated with it are brittle as, you know, like the piping for the intake, known to become solid as a rock and crumble into pieces. Like all this stuff that is just so in old Ferraris the same way. And just being able to have that ability to go into something, people don't realize how much fabric is used in a Testarossa. Like the entire bay of the inside of that is all like, you know, Countach's and junk like that. They're cars that just, I can get to it. I just don't know what to do with it. And every option they have is somebody that says, oh, we got to drop everything and pull it all apart to get to that. And just for somebody saying, look, I don't need to do this. I just need it to look good because I drove it down the street. You know, can you fit me in kind of thing? And then you jump in and go, yeah, that's easy. And they're like, it is. And you always just think there's got to be a catch. And that's the thing is and after doing the research I did before, talking to you, now having you on the show, I really am starting to understand there is no catch to this. It really is just bring it in and work magic. So I mean, am I wrong on this, or is this
no?
You know
no.
I mean?
So I don't want to. You're not wrong, but there are limitations with the dry ice. So I did mention that there are some materials that you have to avoid or be very careful around. Not only that too, but like a lot of these older cars that have had leaks, for example. There might be some areas that the paint is starting to fail on the undercarriage, maybe around the engine bay, underneath the engine bay. You have to be very, very careful with the dry ice because, I mean, even though it's not abrasive, if the paint's failing and you're spraying it, you can still blow the paint off the car. And you want to maintain the originality. So, I mean, that all goes back into proper technique, you know, properly trained, having a head on your shoulders and, you know, turning down the settings, shooting
which is what you have.
Exactly. Shooting from a further distance and starting off really far, then kind of gauging it that way, think, okay, it's handling this. I could probably get a little bit closer. So there's a lot that goes into it in terms of you want to maintain the originality of the car. There are times where you might come across a piece that's black that you blow a little bit of paint off by mistake. It happens. And you just have to be prepared to either explain to the client what happened and see if they want to leave it as is, you want to keep it original, or do they want you to touch it up? So sometimes we'll use, you know, depending on the finish, we'll use satin paint or gloss paint to match areas of the undercarriage that might have had a nick or some paint removed to kind of help it blend back in. So it's not perfect. It does have limitations, but
so if I need touch up paint,
a lot, man.
If I need touch-up paint, I probably won't do that much prior to you getting a hold of it.
Exactly. No, well, like you said, it's just it can do things that most other things cannot, and the amount of time it takes, it's so much less. You can sit there with a brush and try to scrub all the grease and gunk off your inner wells, or you can bring it to me and let me do it in a couple hours.
Right. Well, and I'm gonna get a little bit off topic here because I got to ask now because I see the shirt. And I see that I'm like, and I know you've been, how long have you been a car guy?
My whole, as far as I remember. I used to have my Hot Wheels cars in a bag everywhere I went as a kid, everywhere.
I could see it. It was starting to really rub off with and I was like, the 944 and the BMW. And I'm like, okay, there's some love that goes into this old car thing. So I have to ask, what is your favorite car? Uh-oh.
My favorite car is my car.
What's your car?
I have a 2005, an E46 M3.
Nice.
When I was in college, like I mentioned, I graduated 05. That car had basically just kind of came out and was like the new hot sports car. And I had a poster of an E46 M3 in my college dorm room. And I said, one day I'll have one. And I bought mine almost 3 years ago.
Nice.
And yes, there are other cars that I would like to have one day, but it's my car and it's my favorite car.
Exactly. And that's all that
I
matters.
absolutely love it. Yeah,
So yeah, and now you get to now you're going to get busier and busier. So I hope you're dedicating time. So one thing that I want everybody to bring up, because obviously you guys can remember to head over to entICEDgarage.com if you're looking to have some of this work done. Go through Shaun. Shaun is very highly recommended already, which I think is very interesting to have somebody come right out of the gate and be so highly recommended. But you are by appointment only at this time, right?
That is correct. Yeah. So if you drop by the building unannounced, I may or may not be there. Definitely reach out to me beforehand. Okay. Like Primo said, entICEDgarage.com. I'm on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Call the number on my website, text it. My logo. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Reach out on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm receptive to any form of communication. Let me know what you're looking for and we'll get you on the books.
I found it very awesome to be how easy it was to get in touch with you. You were very responsive with things. I'm just going to say it right now. You are at the forefront of something. You were definitely doing what you need to do to get ahead of something. It's not only just new technology, but you're handling your business well. I think that I would recommend, already not having even done any work through you, seen the stuff that I've seen so far. I would recommend anybody coming by your area. Very accessible. And that's the thing is just, again, make sure you contact him before you head over to make sure that you're available. So do you have anything else you want to add before we shut the show down today, buddy?
Not really. Just thank you very much for having me again. And to your point about me being, responsive, I find that too often these days you reach out to people, businesses, individuals, and they don't get back to you. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves. And I refuse to be that person. It may not be immediately, but I will get back to you. I promise you that.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, thank you for your time, and this was fantastic. I want to have you in the shop one of these days and have you see this firsthand, so you can actually witness it. The magic.
I am like you have no idea how excited I am to get into. You're like, I'm gonna be like a kid at a candy store. Not only that, but like I said, the bee blasting thing was great for me. Not a business I would personally get into because I'm stuck on this thing now. But yeah, definitely it's gonna be like, hey, can I just stop by the shop to watch you do the thing today? Because it's too much. But yeah, I can't wait to do it. And thank you very much for coming on. Thank you. And the thing is, I gotta tell everybody, it's kind of last minute too. I kind of said, hey, do it. And you had my information back by the end of the day, and I was happy to just shove you right in and have you go for it. So, and this has been a great show. Thank you for coming out. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Remember that if you're seeing this after the fact, remember this is going to be on everything. It's going to be Amazon, Google. A lot of you guys aren't seeing some of the pictures. Remember that Spotify, if you're a podcaster, Spotify now has the image stuff. So if you want to see the real stuff, so some of the pictures that we brought up, definitely head over to the Spotify side of it, or go over to the YouTube, Facebook, our all the different areas that we have. Even Twitter has it, LinkedIn, all those places are going to have the images for it, so you can see some of the stuff firsthand. But otherwise, thanks for coming on tonight.
Don't forget one more thing.
Yeah, go right ahead, please.
Sorry. Just remember, I'm not sure what the reach is with this show, but I mean, if we're across the country, if we got people across the country, go to DryceNation.com and find a provider like me, qualified, trained, with the right equipment, as close to you as possible, and send your cars there.
Perfect. Well, tonight, this has been Primo. You've had Shaun from entICED Garage tonight talking about dry ice and cryo cleaning. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll be back next time to show you some more cool shows. Don't forget to check out these other links and other things. Will be on every Tuesday at 6 p.m. from here on in. Talk to you guys soon. See you soon, Shaun. You guys all have a great night. Bye.
Night, Primo. Thanks.